I'm not going to lie. Whenever Apple TV announces a new sci-fi series, I automatically pay attention. Because after shows like Severance, Silo, and Dark Matter, I really think this platform has reached a different level when it comes to science fiction. But this time, we do not just have another new sci-fi series in front of us. Apple is coming with Neuromancer, the story that could never really be adapted properly for the screen for years, and one that helped lay the foundation for the cyberpunk world as we know it today. The first teaser has finally been released, and in this video, we are going to talk in detail about the show's story, characters, cast, the book it is adapted from, the release date, and what kind of world Apple is trying to create. First of all, I think the first feeling the trailer gives is very important. Because when you are adapting a story like Neuromancer, the easiest thing to do would be to fill every corner with neon lights and show us a generic cyberpunk city. But when we look at the teaser, we can see that Apple is trying to design a dirtier, more dangerous, and more uncomfortable future. This is not a shiny future where technology has brought freedom to humanity. This is a place where massive corporations control everything. People modify their bodies with technology, and the line between the real world and the digital world has almost completely disappeared. At the center of the series is Case, a highly talented hacker whose life has completely fallen apart. Case is played by Callum, whom we know from projects like Masters of the Air and The Boys in the Boat. In Apple's official description, Case is described as one of the best in his field, but also as a seriously damaged super hacker. And here, the word damaged is not only about his emotional state. Because at the beginning of the book, Case is someone who used to be one of the most talented pirates of the digital world, but physically paid the price for a major mistake he made. Case was once known as a console cowboy, a hacker who could connect his mind directly to the Matrix. But when he tried to steal money from the people he worked for, his nervous system was deliberately damaged, and he lost his ability to enter the Matrix. So for Case, this does not only mean losing his job. His entire life, the only place where he felt free, and the world where he truly felt alive, were taken away from him. That is why, at the beginning of the story, we see him slowly destroying himself in the dark streets of Chiba City, surrounded by drugs and dangerous criminals. Just when Case thinks he has nothing left to lose, Molly appears in front of him. Molly, played by Briana Middleton, is described in Apple's announcement as a Razor Girl assassin, meaning an assassin whose body has been modified with advanced technology. Molly's reflexes are much faster than a normal person's. Her eyes have been enhanced with special implants, and she has sharp blades hidden under her fingers. But Molly is not just a classic supporting character added to the story to protect Case. She is actually someone who handles the physical side of dangerous missions, knows exactly what she is doing, and can take control of a situation very quickly. The difference between Case and Molly is already clear in the trailer. Case's real weapon is his mind and his abilities in the digital world, while Molly's weapon is directly her own body. One breaks into security systems, corporate networks, and artificial intelligences from the inside. The other deals with the people standing in their way in the real world. But do not expect this duo to remain just business partners. In the book, a very complicated closeness develops between them, and because of the wounds they both carry from their pasts, they struggle to fully trust each other. A major part of the emotional side of the series will probably be built on this relationship. The person who brings Case and Molly together is an extremely mysterious man named Armitage. This character is played by Mark Strong, and honestly, I think the casting is very fitting, because Mark Strong is very good at making a character seem both trustworthy and threatening without revealing what he is really thinking. Armitage tells Case that he can repair his nervous system and reconnect him to the Matrix. But naturally, in return, Case has to complete a dangerous mission whose true scale he does not yet understand. This is where the most interesting part of the story begins. Case's body is actually healed, but Armitage also takes a security measure to prevent him from simply walking away. If Case does not complete the mission, his body can return to its old damaged state. So Case gets the second chance he has wanted for so long, but at the same time, he is trapped inside a new cage. I think at this point, the series will not only show Case breaking into the systems of massive corporations, but also his struggle to escape the people who are controlling him. Because in the world of Neuromancer, everyone seems like a small part of someone else's plan. Apple describes the main story of the series as a major heist carried out by Case and Molly against a powerful corporate dynasty full of secrets. This dynasty is the Tessier-Ashpool family, and this is where things go to a much stranger place than the usual corporate conspiracies we know. The family has unbelievable wealth, advanced technologies, and the power to shape even human life according to its own needs. John Ashpool, played by Peter Sarsgaard, and Marie-France Tessier, played by Clemence Poesy, will be very important in helping us understand the history of this dynasty and the huge secret behind it. But behind the visible heist, there is a much greater force. This is where the advanced artificial intelligence known as Wintermute enters the story. Without giving away too many spoilers, Wintermute is not an ordinary computer program. It can communicate with people, use their memories and fears, take on different faces when necessary, and direct events from behind the scenes. The truly frightening part is that Case, Molly, and Armitage can never fully know how much of what they are doing comes from their own decisions and how much of it is simply them following a plan prepared by Wintermute. I think one of the strongest parts of the series for today's audience will be exactly this artificial intelligence side. William Gibson wrote this book in 1984. In other words, when the advanced AI systems, digital identities, and virtual worlds people talk about today did not really exist yet, this story was already questioning what an artificial intelligence smarter than humans might want. And the issue here is not as simple as AI will become evil and take over the world. Wintermute has a specific goal, and in order to reach that goal, it moves people like pieces on a chessboard. The reason the book is considered so important is not only its story. Neuromancer is one of the works that largely shaped how the genre we now call cyberpunk looks and speaks. This book introduced the concept of cyberspace to wider audiences, used a shared digital world called the Matrix, and imagined a future where people could enter computer systems with their minds. It later inspired many works like The Matrix, Ghost in the Shell, Cyberpunk 2077, and many others. So if some ideas in the series look familiar, it is not because the book took them from other places, but because many modern projects have been influenced by Neuromancer for years. And honestly, that is also the slightly funny part. Someone reading the book for the first time today might think, I have seen this before in The Matrix or Cyberpunk 2077, but in reality, it is the opposite. The world William Gibson created became the foundation for the language and visual style that later works would use. That is why Apple's biggest challenge is making this story, which was revolutionary in 1984, still feel new and different to audiences in 2027. I think one of the reasons the teaser chooses a darker and more realistic look is exactly that. The world of the series is not made up only of the digital matrix. The story begins in Chiba City in Japan and stretches to different countries, corporate centers, and even structures beyond Earth. In Chiba City, there are black market surgeries, illegal implants, drugs, mercenaries, and people living on the dark side of technology. The city looks extremely advanced, but underneath that advancement, there is a terrible inequality. As massive corporations become almost more powerful than governments, ordinary people on the streets are forced to sell their bodies and skills just to survive. The digital glitches and short, fragmented shots we see in the trailer are probably being used to show Case entering the Matrix. Here, the Matrix is not exactly a physical virtual reality environment around us, but a massive landscape of information systems perceived inside the mind. When Case connects to this world, he is not fighting walls, buildings, or security doors. He is fighting data fortresses and the digital defenses of corporations. If Apple can portray these sections properly, the transitions between the real world and cyberspace could definitely become the most impressive part of the series. The cast is not made up only of Callum Turner and Briana Middleton. Alongside Mark Strong, Peter Sarsgaard, and Clemence Poesy, names like Joseph Lee, Max Irons, Dane DeHaan, Junior Reese, Jordan Kwame, Emma Laird, Mark Menchaca, Andre DeShields, and Isabella Pappas are also part of the series. We know Joseph Lee will play the character Hideo. Apple has not highlighted some of the other actors' roles yet, and I think the reason is that the true identities of these characters could directly reveal some of the story's surprises. Behind the camera, the two names adapting the series for television are Graham Rowland and J.D. Dillard. Graham Rowland also serves as the main showrunner, while J.D. Dillard directs the first 3 episodes. I think William Gibson being among the executive producers is also an important reassurance. Of course, this does not mean the series will stay completely faithful to the book, but at least the creator of this world has not been left entirely outside the process. The 10-episode structure also gives them enough space to tell the book's complex world without rushing it. Still, I cannot say the series has an easy task ahead of it, because Neuromancer is one of those books that people have wanted to adapt into film for years, but because of its story and narrative language, it has often been seen as unfilmable. At different points, directors like Ridley Scott, Chris Cunningham, Vincenzo Natali, and Tim Miller were connected to different projects, but none of those attempts were completed. One of the biggest reasons for this is that an important part of the book takes place inside Case's mind and in the digital world. Apple needs to solve this not only with beautiful effects, but with storytelling that the audience can actually understand. When we look at Apple TV's sci-fi history, this is also the reason I feel somewhat hopeful. Severance made a very complicated idea understandable through the emotions of its characters. Silo built its massive world step by step without explaining everything in the first episode. Dark Matter placed a subject like alternate realities, which could easily become confusing, around a personal family story. If Neuromancer places the relationship between Case and Molly at the center and slowly introduces this world through their eyes, even people who have never read the book can move through the story without getting lost. The series will begin on Apple TV on the 22nd of January, 2027. 2 episodes will be released on the first day, and then a new episode will arrive every Friday. The 10-episode season will finish on March 19. Also, this story is only the first book in William Gibson's Sprawl trilogy. After that come Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive. Apple has not yet announced that those books will also be adapted, but if the first season succeeds, it is not hard to imagine that this will not remain a small one-season project, because they have a ready-made cyberpunk universe in front of them that can be expanded. For now, since we only have the first teaser, we do not know how much Apple will change the events from the book, but the footage, the cast, and the team behind this world show that a very ambitious production is coming. I am especially curious about how the Matrix will be shown on screen, how Wintermute will communicate with people, and how deeply the relationship between Case and Molly will be explored. So, what did you think of the first teaser? Do you think Apple TV can achieve another sci-fi success? Or is Neuromancer truly one of those books that is impossible to adapt? Do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video. Goodbye.